Hello fellow introverts, my name is Ben Lai from Sales Ethos, and this presentation is an introvert's guide to booking sales appointments without cold calling. In my time coaching businesses on their sales processes, I come across a lot of people who have spent a lot of money on marketing and just not gotten the results from it. A lot of marketing campaigns will promise eyeballs, visitors to your website, but these don't ultimately translate into sales appointments. Furthermore, for the people that I do work with, a lot of them will say that when they actually get in front of a qualified prospect, they have absolutely no problem presenting and selling the product, but they're missing that one key component where they just need to get in front of a qualified person to start with. So this presentation is going to help those of you who would like to get in front of decision makers without necessarily having to pick up the phone and make a cold call. Let's face it, as introverts, we hate cold calling. But thankfully for you, I've done the hard work. I used to cold call a lot, and I'll tell you that story shortly. I can share with you the principles that I learned from that so that you don't have to go through that difficult situation yourself. To start off with, I'd like to start by sharing with you my story as an introvert. Growing up, I always enjoyed being by myself. I would have absolutely no problem spending an entire day in complete solitude, and that was generally how I rejuvenated myself. That is still true to this day, although it's pretty challenging with the kids and having my wife at home. Having me time is in short supply, but nevertheless, that's my strict definition for what an introvert is, and I definitely identify as one. Ironically, from a young age, I actually wanted to do professional public speaking. So, according to a few other introvert experts that I talk to, that's not necessarily a contradiction because being an introvert does not necessarily mean that we are shy, and that doing something like platform speaking might have no problem, whereas being at a party and being the life of that party is completely out of our comfort zone. I am an introvert, and when I finished high school, one of the problems that I had was that I was wondering what career path would lead to professional public speaking. I had absolutely no idea. So I did the next thing that I could think of, which was to find a profession where I could express myself and care for others as part of my vocation. So I picked nursing. I studied nursing for 3 years and practiced for 4 years. And what I discovered towards the end of the 4th year was that I'm actually missing certain key skills that I'll need in order to pursue professional speaking. And one of those key skills was running my own business and learning how to sell. By this time, I'd already read a lot of business books, and I realized that sales and selling was an essential skill. What better way to learn how to sell than to actually get a sales job? So I put my application in for an entry-level sales role in an IT company. And what happened next was that my job was to call existing clients and sell to them. Because they were complete strangers to me, I found this absolutely terrifying. My heart was pumping, my hands were trembling, I was breaking out in cold sweats just to pick up the phone and speak to a stranger. So this was exceptionally difficult for me. But nevertheless, I had my big goal in mind. I really wanted to pursue this pathway of being a professional speaker, and I knew that this was the price that I needed to pay to achieve that. So day after day, I kept on forcing myself to pick up that phone and make those phone calls. And after a few months, I started realizing it got easier. And I started discovering and applying the techniques that I've learned from the sales training books and started seeing that it actually had a positive effect on my results and on the people that I was calling on. As a result of my success in selling to small to medium businesses, so we were selling websites and everything related to them, I actually was moved to a different department within the company and started selling to larger corporations. So my job was to actually start cold calling, not calling existing clients anymore. I had to approach large companies where we had no established connection, meet up with and book appointments with their C-level executives and other decision makers. And we did this on a national scale, so all over Australia, as well as the international scale, so all over the Asia Pacific region. So I was making cold approaches to countries like Singapore, Malaysia, China, even Korea. I don't even speak Chinese or Korean, despite my appearance. But what we discovered was that there was plenty of business to make with these countries if we approached them the right way. And one of the key tools that I used in all of my corporate selling was LinkedIn. LinkedIn was one of the most important tools, aside from the phone, to make these sorts of connections. Now, I did mention that the title of this presentation is how to book sales appointments without cold calling. However, as a disclaimer, if an appointment is important enough to make, so if you're approaching a really desirable company and you really want to get the best results, I would highly recommend mustering up the energy to make that call, because cold calling, whether we like it or not, will always get you better results than using digital messages every time. And the key reasons for this is that it allows us to communicate so many more things than the written word can. We can convey our sincerity. We can convey our care factor. They can hear the tone of voice that you're using, your enthusiasm. All of these things cannot be conveyed via the written word. But that said, because I'm being mindful that, myself being an introvert and yourself being an introvert, we need a way to book sales appointments without having to make too many of these calls. Otherwise, we're just going to completely deplete ourselves and make it very difficult to get through our day. I mean, after all, we have businesses to run. So I found myself in that situation as well. After each day of, just nonstop cold calling, I was just completely depleted. And I really struggled to make more than 20 to 30 calls a day, whereas other people, extroverts, can easily make 100 calls in a day. So it was very, very difficult for me to push myself to do that. And I certainly don't expect you to do that as a busy entrepreneur trying to start your own business. So this system, I call it the SELL system. It's an acronym that stands for the Sales Ethos LinkedIn Lead System. And the whole idea of this is to pretty much put your lead generation efforts on autopilot for as little time and energy investment and financial investment as possible. So one of the great things about LinkedIn is that you don't even have to have the premium subscription in order to get the most out of the tool. Part of this presentation is to share with you the key principles that you'll need in order to generate appointments on a regular basis for your business without having to spend ridiculous amounts of money on marketing or without having to push yourself to make those uncomfortable cold calls. All right, so let's begin with the SELL system. The very first thing that you need to do before you even start making any approaches is that you need to make sure that your LinkedIn profile is up to scratch. What I mean by this is that it has to be completed. All of the segments in your profile needs to be populated. Put in all of your skills, fill in your work history, and details about what you did at each role. Make sure that it is 100% complete. If you have any brochures, if you have any presentations or slides, media that you can add to your profile, then do that. The next thing that you need to do is to make sure that you have professional images. So this means that you don't use your vacation photo for your profile photo. If you can afford it, get a professional photographer to take your profile, and that will be the best results. Otherwise, just get dressed up, make sure that the lighting is nice and bright, maybe have some sort of nature in the background, and take a photo that way. But professional is always best, of course. The next thing that you can do is to have a professional LinkedIn banner. This can come at a very low cost. All you need to do is to look for a freelance graphic designer. I personally like to use a service called Fiverr to look up graphic designers. A lot of them will advertise specifically that they will create a LinkedIn banner for you. So look up one that is of interest to you, and maybe $20, $30 you can get a perfectly good LinkedIn banner for your business. So it just adds that extra level of professionalism to your profile. So when you're making these approaches, people will look at your profile and they'll see, yes, this is a person that I want to work with. Now, the next thing that you need to do after you've filled in your profile, you need to create the About section and choose your title. Rather than just saying that you're a business owner or an entrepreneur, what you need to do is to come up with a client-centric title. So for my title, rather than saying I'm a sales trainer and consultant, what I have done is that I've written that I empower introverts to sell authentically. So it really needs to be client-oriented and it needs to be results-oriented. So maybe your business helps companies to save on costs. So saving clients thousands on their production costs, for example. You may want to put that in your title and certainly in your About section. If you need additional help with this, what I would suggest is having a look at those LinkedIn profiles that of LinkedIn professionals, see how they word their segments, and then come up with your own version of that. Now, once you have completed your profile, the next thing that you need to do before you make approaches is to increase your number of connections to at least 500 people. Now, all of us will have at least 500 people within our own personal networks. So what you need to do is to either import your contacts list, so your email list, into LinkedIn, and it will allow you to make connection requests to everybody that you know. This will quickly accumulate to maybe 300 to 400, and then maybe you need to send a few personal invitations to people that you have met and people that you already know. This is a very important step because that 500 plus indicator on the connections section is a credibility signal for people. If they see that you only have 20 or 30 connections, they will immediately know that you're not on LinkedIn very much. And when you're sending invitations to them, they're much less likely to connect with you. So that's your LinkedIn profile and how you can make it up to scratch. The next thing that you need to do is to start sending out connection requests with your target market. So to just take things one step back, you need to first identify who your target market is and who it is that you need to approach. So once you do that and you start looking for them on LinkedIn, you need to send a connection request. A lot of people make the mistake of sending nothing in the connection request. They just simply click connect and then send. This is a mistake because people will not know why you are connecting with them. They'll think to themselves, I don't know this person, I'm going to ignore it. And this is going to be counterproductive in terms of your credibility as well as generating appointments. The next mistake that I want you to avoid is to start selling in that connection request. They have a character limit of around 300 characters. So that's not exactly the right place to start your sales pitch in the first instance. Even if they had a larger character limit, how would you feel if someone approached you at a social function, let's just say a birthday party, and then they immediately started proposing something to you? It would be in bad taste, and it is in bad taste on LinkedIn as well. The same rules that apply in normal social situations apply on LinkedIn. So when you are making your initial connection request, you have to avoid the temptation to start talking about yourself and talking about your need for more clients. So this is what you should do instead. You should establish commonality, be value-centric, and non-salesy. So to give you my personal example, when I am making new connection requests on LinkedIn, what I write is, "Hi, Bob," or the name of the person. "I'm connecting with fellow sales leaders in Melbourne. So if you would like to expand your network, feel free to connect with me." So from this perspective, there are two things I want you to note here. The first thing is that I am establishing something that I have in common with that other person. In psychology, we understand that people generally will look more favorably on you if you have something in common. Think about the last time that you traveled overseas and then you met people from your home country. You instantly have rapport with them and have something to talk about. So by saying fellow sales leaders in Melbourne, I'm establishing that commonality that I have with them and lowering their sales resistance. The next thing that I do is I offer something of value to them up front. This is something that I feel is very important for everyone in sales. Every step of the process, you need to be adding value and offering something to the other person. Otherwise, they have no incentive to give up their time to speak with you. So, the most common approach that people will do is they'll say, we're here to offer digital marketing services or even LinkedIn, meeting services. But it's far too forthcoming. So what you need to do instead is to offer something of value. And in this case, what I'm offering is connection to my network. So the ability to expand their network. Most people who are familiar with LinkedIn will understand that when they are connecting with someone with a large number of connections, this will then expand their ability to connect with other people. That could be potential sales opportunities for them or the eyes of recruiters. So depending on what's important to them, they will understand that by connecting with you, they are expanding their network as well. This is highlighting how important it is to have a large number of connections yourself. So that's the initial connection request. You need to establish commonality, you need to be value-centric, and you need to be non-salesy. The next thing that you need to do after they have accepted the connection request is you need to send them a message to invite them to meet with you. And lo and behold, this message must be relevant and it must be interesting for them. So what you need to do here is to find some sort of point and a point of value that you can give in exchange for their time. Let's face it, everybody is busy. And so if they're going to give you half an hour or 1 hour of their time, they need to make sure that they're getting something for it and not just giving you an opportunity to sell your product. So let me give you an example from my days selling digital marketing services. When Google was releasing a new update, one of the zoo animals, let's just say penguin, what I would do is I would send that invitation to connect, and then I would follow up with the invitation to meet, and I would say, "Hi Bob, I hope you are well. I'm not sure if you're aware, but Google is about to release a new update to its algorithm. If you're open to it, I'd love to meet with you." Back in the days when we weren't always meeting over Zoom meetings, and share with you what's coming up so that you can prepare your website for those changes. You may want to add a side note in addition to your main message and say that after this meeting, if you want, you can decide for yourself if you want to discuss further about us helping you with your digital marketing. So the whole point of this conversation topic is that you are adding some sort of value to them so they understand it's a sales meeting, but that you're not going to be so forthcoming as to that's the only focus for that conversation. I'm not sure about other countries, but especially in the Australian market, people want to feel like they are developing some sort of relationship with you before they do business with you. So this is an especially important aspect of the meeting request, that you establish that you're not just here for the transaction. You are here to add value. You're here to build a relationship with that other person. This is very, very important from a mindset perspective, as well as communicating it to the other person so that they know you're not going to pressure them into buying anything. So industry news is one of the topics that you can use. Another example would be insights about their business. So again, drawing from digital marketing, one of the things that I would offer, especially to larger potential clients, is insights about their website or insights about their competitors. So I would offer to run a complimentary analysis on their website and give them a manually generated report as a value add in exchange for the opportunity to speak to them and present our services. So using this approach, I was able to book appointments with very large companies with very well-established digital marketing departments. The reason that they accepted the meeting with me was because I was not like any of the other salespeople. Now, if you know anything about the digital marketing industry, people who offer SEO services or search engine optimization are dime and dozen. They are everywhere. There are a lot of dodgy operators in this field. By using this approach, I was able to book appointments with companies like Compare the Market, which is one of the biggest insurance providers in Australia, Medibank, once again, another health insurance provider, Bank of Queensland, Carpet Call, very, very big brands in Australia. I was able to get their attention by offering something in exchange for their time. If you are unable to offer industry news or insights about their business, you can always fall back on the third category, which is success stories from your past clients. So you may explain in the body of the message that you had some great success working with a company that is similar to their industry, and you would be happy to share their story and the learnings from their case study so that they can draw principles and learnings for themselves. So this is what you do as part of your invitation to meet. And of course, at the end of every message where you're offering something, you need a call to action. So you may say, please let me know if you are interested in meeting up with me. Okay, so now we've sent the invitation to meet. What's next? Of course, there's going to be a certain number of people that will respond to you. So between 10 and 20% will immediately respond, and they will say, yes, I'm interested, or they'll say, no, it's not for me. Either way, there are going to be a number of people that will just simply not reply. And this is why you need the all-important step of follow-up. So for those that don't respond within 3 or 4 days, or even up to 1 week, you may want to send a follow-up message to them to ask and confirm if they have any interest in what you are proposing. Now, just bear in mind that because there are so many people using the LinkedIn platform as a sales tool, it's very easy to get categorized as one of those others, even though your value proposition is going to be very different. What will differentiate you from everybody else is your ability to continue following up until you get a response. So generally speaking, I recommend that you send 2 follow-up messages, and then finally you let them go. You send a message to them to let them know that I assume that you haven't responded because you're not interested. I wish you all the best. So this way you're wrapping things up for yourself as well as the other person. They know they're not going to receive any more messages from you, and you save yourself your reputation as well as your own conscience. Because let's face it, as introverts, we really don't like disturbing people. We don't like offending people. So this is the perfect way to get a good balance between being proactive but not being pushy. All right, so now that I've shared with you the whole system, so sprucing up your profile, sending out those connection requests, sending out the meeting requests, and then sending follow-up. where to from here? You essentially have two options from here. The first option is to take what you've learned from this presentation and apply it for yourself. I guarantee you that if you make these changes to your profiles and you systematically send out invitations, you are going to book more meetings. And hey, it's not going to cost you anything. Isn't that wonderful? And if that is you, I'm very happy for you. I'm happy to have provided this value for you. If you want to give me kudos, more than happy for you to leave a review for Sales Ethos. Just type Sales Ethos into Google, leave me a review, and that can be your way of saying thanks, Ben, for helping me to generate more business without having to spend anything. However, if you find that you need a bit more help customizing your profile and customizing your own templates, and you want to have an in-depth view of what the sales system is, then I would suggest connecting with me personally for a complimentary 30-minute consult. So in the spirit of giving value, I will endeavor to share as much as I can with you during that 30-minute consult. And at the same time, you can explore whether the sales system is right for you. So again, those two options is either to do it yourself or to connect with me and take advantage of that complimentary consult. I'm all about giving as much value as I can up front. That's going to be my way of helping you along your journey. So I hope this has been very helpful for you. Like I said, congratulations on starting and running your own business. It is certainly something that as introverts, putting ourselves out there is very challenging. But if you are really struggling with booking appointments, then I'm here to help. Reach out to me and connect, and I look forward to meeting you in person.